Call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the February 20th, 2024 Post Falls City Council meeting. Shannon, please note that all council members are present with the exception of Mr. Ziegler, who is excused tonight. Do you have a couple of announcements? There will be a special City Council workshop next Tuesday, February 27th at 5:30 p.m. in the City Hall basement conference room. The workshop topic will be land use training. And we do have a presentation. The Rotary Club of Post Falls has generously donated 5 solar signal crosswalks to the City of Post Falls over the last 5 years. The latest, located on Mullen Avenue near the Frederick Prost Kinder Center and the Post Falls Boys and Girls Club, was dedicated on February 7th in honor of Rotary's longtime member, Jerry Sin. These crossings, strategically placed near Post Falls schools, enhance pedestrian safety for all. Thank you, Rotary Club of Post Falls, for your ongoing commitment to making Post Falls a safer and more vibrant community. I've got a certificate I'll hand off, and Rotary's kind of special. I was a member for 25 years, and when I retired, I knew that I probably wasn't going to be attending anymore, so I did resign, but it was 25 years. And if you folks were at the chamber banquet the other night, you would have heard that I stood up for Rotary, because our good friend in Kiwanis, in our good-natured jest, made a comment that if you couldn't get into Kiwanis, there was always Rotary. So I called him on it. But as I said, how can I get mad when he had the hairdo like mine? So who's going to accept the award? Good to see you, man.
Thank you.
Picture him?
We'd also like to thank the city for all the support we get. Thank you very much.
You guys do a tremendous job for us. It's good to see you all, and one of these days I will make it back to a meeting. Are there any amendments to the agenda tonight?
We have none tonight, sir.
Any declarations of conflict? Would you please present the consent calendar?
This is like one of the longest ones I've presented in a long time. Item A is minutes, February 6th, 2024, City Council meeting. Item B is payables, January 30th through February 12th, 2024. And item C is the December cash and investments report.
Any questions?
I'd move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Shove.
Aye.
Malloy.
Aye.
Stigleader. Aye. Walker.
Aye.
Westland.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. Tonight we do have one public hearing, and it is on an update to the fiscal year 2024 fee resolution. Open the public hearing. I should announce if anyone wishes to testify, there's a form on the podium in the back. Fill it out and turn it into our clerk. Good to go? Good.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Jason Faulkner. I'm the Finance Director. And what would a February be without a fee resolution update? But I wanted to do there's a little confusion when the permit folks were issuing permits on what was actually fire and EMS impact fees. And so what I had done was I needed to split those columns out and show which one was fire and EMS. And the residential multifamily are based on the doors, how many units there are, and the square feet for the commercial is how the impact fees are calculated when the permit is pulled. So I wanted to outline those. And then also the Parks Department was getting ready to advertise for their fees for their summer rec programs. And so I had made the changes on the side of any proposed change in the council packet. So anything that's on there as yellow will be what it's proposed to be, and then what it currently is on the same form. So it's just those two items, and I'm just looking for later on approval for the resolution.
Any questions of Jason? Seeing none. Anyone wishing to testify?
We have none.
Close the public hearing. So you just need us to, is there
This is the resolution, yeah.
Resolution coming back.
So we need a motion for the staff to bring back. a
Oh, to bring it
resolution.
back, okay,
Yes.
gotcha.
I would move to approve the update to the fiscal year 2024 fees and direct staff to bring back a resolution to a future council meeting.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Malloy.
Aye.
Stigliter. Aye. Walker.
Aye.
Westland.
Aye.
Shove.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next is unfinished business, returning ordinances. We do have one. It's the ordinance for the fiscal year 2024 budget amendment.
I move to place the ordinance fiscal year 2024 budget amendment on its first and only reading by title only while under suspension of the rules.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call.
Stigliter. Aye. Walker.
Aye.
Westland.
Aye.
Shove.
Aye.
Malloy.
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Harrington.
An ordinance of the City of Post Falls, Idaho, amending the annual appropriation ordinance 1495 for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2022, to reflect the receipt of unscheduled revenues, to authorize the expenditure of previously unbudgeted fund balance, increasing and establishing the appropriations for expenditures in various departments and funds, providing that the tax levy upon the taxable property within the city is not affected hereby, providing that all ordinances in conflict herewith are superseded by this ordinance to the extent of such conflict, and providing that the ordinance shall be effected on its publication date.
I move to approve the ordinance fiscal year 2024 budget amendment and to direct the clerk to assign the appropriate number and that it be published by summary only.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Walker.
Aye.
Westland.
Aye.
Shove.
Aye.
Malloy.
Aye.
Stigliter. Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next item up is new business. We have two items tonight. The first is the ordinance to clarify payment of impact fees by public agencies.
So I don't necessarily have a presentation on this. It really is just a cleanup. It's just moving it from one section that's already in code to its own subsection to make it a little bit easier for staff to find. This is an item that we can just adopt right away. It doesn't have to go through a public hearing process or come back. I think the idea would just be to adopt it as proposed.
And it's just to clarify?
It's
It's just a format change, right?
just a format change, just moving it from a sort of list of exemptions to its own subsection to just make it easy to find.
Any questions? Entertain a motion.
I move to place the ordinance to clarify payment of impact fees by public agencies on its first and only reading by title only while under suspension of the rules.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Westland. Aye. Shove.
Aye.
Malloy.
Aye.
Stigliter. Aye. Walker.
Aye.
Motion passes. Field.
An ordinance of the City of Post Falls, Kootenai County, a municipal corporation of the state of Idaho, amending Section 1904090 and adopting a new Section 1904035 to clarify that impact fees are not applicable to taxing districts and charter schools, providing that remaining sections of Post Falls City Code shall remain in effect, providing for severability, providing for this ordinance to be in full force and effect from and after its passage, approval, and publication according to law.
I move to approve the ordinance to clarify payment of impact fees by public agencies and direct the clerk to assign the appropriate number and that it be published by summary only.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Shove.
Aye.
Malloy.
Aye.
Stigliter. Aye. Walker.
Aye.
Westland.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next item up is Police Department radio upgrade. Captain.
I didn't realize he was still going to be talking, so sorry about that. I'm Mark Brownell, captain with Post Falls Police Department. Tonight I'm here presenting our radio project, ACU, purchase and installation, so basically seeking approval for the purchase installation of some equipment to increase our radio capability. Just some history of our radio system. We are a UHF band frequency. Pretty much all the other agencies around us are 700 megahertz, which is a different bandwidth in the radios. It's a long story of how that happened, but we are kind of our own radio system here in town. We do have encrypted communications that do serve the city of Post Falls and the city of Rathdrum for police services. And like I said, the surrounding agencies are 700 megahertz. Currently, to be able to talk with CUNY County and Coeur d'Alene City, we're patched, which is what they call it, where the two radios are tied together at central dispatch. And so we only have the ability to talk to two of their channels, which is Coeur d'Alene and CUNY County. So the equipment that we're talking about purchasing is going to increase our capability to do that patch on our own. And so it's called an ACU, which on this diagram would be the black box right here at the top. And so basically how it works is radios on your left-hand side would be on our frequency, and the radios on the right-hand side would be on the 700 frequency. And we'd be able to patch those together and tie them together to be able to talk to other first responder agencies in the county. And part of the equipment is what's called consulate that we'd be able to remote in via the web and be able to change that channel to anything that's on the 700 frequency. So basically, it gives us a heck of a lot more capability to talk to other first responders in the county. And the way it's built out, it also is built out for future expansion. So if we needed to go over and put channels over for Washington, for Spokane, and for mutual aid and things like that, we could do that in the future. I'm getting ahead of myself here, but so the funding for this is the grand total between the two quotes is $228,265.11, and that funding would be out of the 911 support fees that are collected and are earmarked for this type of project. So I figured I'd get a question about ACU, of what it stands for. I spent about 45 minutes today trying to learn what that stood for, even tried phoning a friend. It's what they call it. I have no idea what the acronym actually stands for. But, I would stand for any questions.
We talked about the difference in the band frequency several years ago. Does it make sense to go to the 700 to match everybody else, or is that an additional huge expense?
It's a huge expense. And
I mean,
so,
we're talking million north.
yeah,
or
so
two,
back
right?
in 2018, when we did a radio project upgrade at that time, we kind of looked at it, and it was double the cost for what we did back in 2018. And we would end up having to join the state radio network, which the brain for that radio network is in Boise. And so you're talking about infrastructure, you're talking about microwave connections to get down to Boise to hit the brain to be able to use the radios. To buy a core, which is what the brain is called, several millions of dollars.
Okay.
And so it wasn't in the cards back then. It's still really kind of more expensive than we would like. And this is a solution to get us to be able to have that interoperable communication with our other first responder partners, including fire, which we can't talk to fire right now unless they jump on our frequency.
So this will accomplish what you need to have accomplished then, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Any other questions for Captain?
What were the two bids? Is it like the equipment and installation? You said that number is both of them put together?
Right, so there's two different quotes. One of them is from JPS, which is the actual for the ACU, the black box.
Okay.
That controls and be able to patch all the radios together. The other quote is Motorola's quote for the radios that you have to have on the rack, and then installation. And there's some tuning of antennas, everything, and all this is going to be done up at the tower that's on Blossom Mountain, and that's where it'll be housed. And so all of that, the radios and the labor to install everything and get it up and running.
So we are replacing radios?
Yes.
Okay.
We're installing new radios
Okay.
to make this work. Currently up at Blossom, there is old, not compatible radios that don't have the encryption, and were pre-2018 that never got replaced.
Okay.
No other questions. I'd entertain a motion.
I'd move to approve the Police Department radio upgrade ACU.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion. Shannon, please take the roll.
Malloy,
Aye.
Stigleader,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Westland,
Aye.
Shove,
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Thanks, Captain. Next item on the agenda, citizens' issue. And this section of the agenda is reserved for citizens wishing to address the council regarding a city-related issue that is not on the agenda. If anyone wishes to testify, come forward. Seeing none, administrative staff reports. Water Reclamation Facility, Tertiary Treatment Project Status Upgrade. Update. We're upgrading for the last several years, so.
If you'd like to upgrade the status, that is also okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm John Beecham. I'm Public Works Director. Here tonight to present just a status update on the Water Reclamation Facility Tertiary project. Not asking for anything tonight. I know we have a couple new council members, wanted to go through a little bit of how we got here, just to remind everybody of that, and then also provide sort of the latest breaking news on this project. It's been ongoing over 5 years now, really, since design started. So it's been going for a while. I just told you the summary of what we're going to talk through. So this all started in 2009 with a draft discharge permit that was floated to the city and other dischargers on the Spokane River, which would require all the dischargers to significantly reduce the phosphorus that we put into the river. At the time, that permit was really unachievable with any technology, and so the city and a number of other entities sued EPA, and that helped to negotiate where we eventually settled several years later, and I'll get to that. As all of that was happening, we were going through a water reclamation facility master plan update, and that's something we do periodically. We happen to be doing one right now. But one was being done in the 09, 10, 11, 12, and then finalized in 13 timeframe. The goal with that was to outline, okay, we know these permit requirements are coming, how are we going to achieve them? So that, like I said, that plan was put into place in 2013, and one key component of the plan was to upgrade the water reclamation facility to add tertiary membrane filtration, which is a fancy way of saying we'll put chemicals in the wastewater that bind onto phosphorus, and then they form a goop, and we can separate the goop out. So that's tertiary membrane filtration in a nutshell. In 2014, we were finally issued that permit that had been drafted in 2009. It had achievable limits, not easy to achieve limits, but they could be met with technology. And it also had a 10-year compliance schedule. That is a allowable time frame to get to those limits, basically. So we've been working on that compliance schedule ever since. The first component of the compliance schedule itself was to upgrade the plant in a phase 1 capacity. What we did there, that's actually what's shown in this picture, is add about 850,000 gallons of storage for wastewater. And what happens as the water comes into the plant, we transfer the high flows that come in during the day into those tanks, and then treat them in the evening so that we get a really steady flow through the plant. That allowed us to save several $1 million on the size of the equipment required for our eventual upgrade that we're building right now. Continuing on, the next phase in our compliance schedule was to do a pilot study, basically use equipment that will fit in this room to make sure that the technology we're going to install is properly sized, properly designed, test out different technologies to make sure we're getting a good fit for our specific circumstances. So we did that. We had I think it was like a 40 by 40 pilot building that we did most of the work in. That's actually what you see in this picture. And out of that came the recommendation to build what's in our design right now, tertiary clarification, which is add chemicals and settle the particles out, followed by tertiary membrane filtration, which is the filtering of any particles that make it through that. That's what we're designing right now, or that's what we're constructing right now. Design, like I said, began in 2018, and construction began in fall of 2020. This is that compliance schedule showing gray shows the items that we've accomplished to date. So design is completed. The next thing to accomplish is construction completed. The current deadline, I say current because it's been amended by Idaho DEQ, the current deadline is March 29th for that. So a few months from now, or a month from now, really. And following that, we have 1 year of optimization or a year and a half to November of 2025. And then the next day, on December 1st, 2025, those permit limits go into effect. So that is the current status of our compliance schedule. As we've been going through this, and I've used this slide a lot, I don't know how many times it's been in front of you all, and I've used it other places too, but we really had 4 project goals, and this is important to remember. It was good to keep in mind that our primary driver for this was to satisfy that compliance schedule, that EPA mandated compliance schedule. But we also wanted to be smart about the project. We could have done that in a way that didn't set the city up for future expandability or for ease of operations. So we've really been focused on these other things that if we're going to do an upgrade, should we upgrade the capacity at the same time and only do one design project instead of paying an engineer twice? That sort of thing. So we've really been focusing on how do we make this an upgrade that makes sense for the city long term. And then I threw this slide in. I'll have to transition to it a little bit, but in every contract with any contractor, something goes differently than you think it will when you bid it. And the city, ever since I started, my predecessor said, basically, be a good partner in all your projects. It's not as satisfying as banging on the table, but it will ultimately save the city money, and you'll end up with better projects as a part of that. And I've tried to carry that on, and I think that's really been the city approach as long as I've heard about it, is that we're a good business partner with our contractors and our consultants. And that doesn't mean that we just throw money at change orders as they come up. We want to negotiate things and make sure they're fair. But when a fair change does come up that's not contemplated in the contract, we do try to adjust that. We've done that with this project a number of times. Some of them have been small, less than $100. Some of them have been, I think the biggest one was in November when we did the schedule adjustment for pandemic-related things. That was $2.3 million. So we've covered the gamut of size of changes that have come up. Another one of our goals is staying within the contract. And what that really means is there's pathways and agreed upon ways we're going to handle disputes. So we've been trying to do that with this project as well. As things come up, we say, well, where does this fit into the contract? Oh, it's a pandemic. That doesn't fit in the contract. We didn't have that before. But, oh, this one does. We need another switch for electrical gear. We've agreed on markup. We'll work through that with you. And then there's a saying in construction, you can have quality, budget, or timely completion, and you can only pick 2. What we've really focused on with this project is ensuring that what we build is going to be a quality piece of infrastructure for our ratepayers. So if we have to choose between it being done right and it being done on time, we want it done right. It doesn't make sense to get something that's not going to work. So that's been sort of how we've been prioritizing our decisions. And then I want to note this too. Flexibility has been required in the construction world in the last few years in a way that it really hasn't been in recent times. The combination of the pandemic with its weird labor and productivity changes, with the war in Ukraine and prices for various components tripling overnight, it's been a really weird construction world. Workforce challenges have also been challenging, although I would say that labor is sort of dealt with in the contracts. That is the contractor's responsibility to manage. So workforce shortages are nothing new. We've had those in recent history. So saying all that, just to recap, the most recent time we were before you with a big adjustment was adding over a year to the contract. We changed the completion milestone to December 29th, 2023, which, do a little quick math, was about a month and a half ago, and moved the total completion for the project to February 27th, which is coming up quickly. It's on the next slide, but the contractor has not met these dates, and that's really why I'm here to talk to you a little bit more, is let you know what we're doing and where we're going from here. That change order did include compensation. When we adjusted those dates, there was some money paid to the contractor as well for delays. So to date, what is completed according to what we've paid for is about 90% of the project, just under 90%. That is for payments approved. So the value of the work remaining on, it's a $40 million contract with our contractor. It's about $2.3 million. So that gives you a sense of how much work remains to be done. Those two numbers don't quite work out, and the difference is there's material that's been purchased and paid for. We've paid for some of that, but it hasn't been installed yet. So that's why those two values don't quite add up. Work that's been completed, we've done upgrades to the existing side of the plant, the oxidation ditches, and the secondary clarifier number 8 is started up at this point. As I was drafting this, startup was starting on that thing. So that really leaves just the tertiary side of the project, which is all of the new technology. So what we've added so far has been additional versions of what we already had at the plant, just for capacity reasons. And a few pictures of that. This is our tertiary, you can see my pointer. On the left is the tertiary clarifier building. Off in the distance is the membrane filtration building, and then on the right is the UV building. These are the tertiary clarifiers. They're kind of neat stainless steel structures that the water goes through at an angle, and then a gallery of pumps at the bottom of that to deal with the sludge coming out of it. Our new UV system, this modernizes some 1990s technology that we've been working with since 1990s. And on the left is just an indication of some of the complexity of this. That's a control room with some of the electrical switchgear. And then on the right are the membrane racks that will eventually have the individual membrane canisters installed on them to treat the water. Kind of summarizing some of what I've already said, the deadlines have passed. When I published this, so it's been on the website for a couple of days, but the contractor had not requested a schedule extension. They actually sent something over today, so that's not accurate. That's been inaccurate for about 4 hours. So, and we have not reviewed that yet. It's labeled schedule extension. We said we received it. So. And the contractor did provide, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, a schedule showing substantial completion of the project in June. So they took the best information they had available, work that was completed. That one they were saying was through December. Looking forward, it was going to take them until June. With today's package came a similar schedule that with another month of data still showed June as their final substantial completion date. So some of the things we've been doing to spur along the conversations around when is this going to be wrapped up, what is your plan? We've been withholding payment until we receive schedule updates from them. So we are now receiving regular schedule updates, which is good. We've requested formal claims for any delays. So within the contractual process, it says, if you believe you should have more days to complete the project, here's a formal process to go through to do that. You send a letter to the engineer and the owner. So we've requested that, and the slide says none received. I don't know if what we got today qualifies as that or not, but we've been really pushing them. If you believe we slowed you down on December the 3rd for 7 days, put that in writing and send it to us, and we will do the fair thing. If you truly deserve 7 days, then we'll go to council and talk about that. If it's not accurate, then we'll discuss it some more. And then with this, actually tonight, with the payables you approved, we withheld money anticipating the potential assessment of liquidated damages. So we've not formally assessed liquidated damages on the project. That's something that happens at the end of it, but we've started holding back money that we're paying them, saying if we have to assess liquidated damages, we have this still in our checkbook. So that was a relatively small amount for the December payment, which is what was approved on tonight's council. It was $4,000, but it's $2,000 a day. So it would be a larger amount if that happens again for January. I noted on here, if they do submit that claim for 7 days and it's approved and we do a change order that grants them 7 more days on the project, that could be, those withheld amounts could be paid in a future payment. So it's not our goal to hold back payment that is rightfully due to the contractor. We're just trying to follow the contract with what makes sense in this situation. And a lot of what was driving that was we hadn't received anything in writing explaining why they were late or requesting extensions, anything like that. So this was, okay, we've kind of run out of tools. We're offering you opportunities here, so. This is kind of a repeat of the prior slide, but I did that intentionally. This is still our approach. We're still trying to be a good business partner. I had a conversation with the vice president of their industrial division who does this work today. We still talk. We're still communicating and trying to sort through these things. So I think that is in the city's best interest if we are not just having lawyers lob letters at each other, which is a different route we can go down, but that's not where we're at today, and that's why I'm here talking to you in public about it. So, yeah, so our goals really haven't changed, and our approach really hasn't changed. We know more about next steps than we did a few months ago. We're still anticipating startup. We started up, the folks from the vendor who can start up the tertiary clarifiers are on site this week. So they're doing the final checkouts. If that goes well, those will be starting up here then the subsequent weeks. Still communicating with Idaho Department of Environmental Quality. That March 29th date is on our minds every day. Talking to the contractor today, verbally he says they can make it. Seeing their schedule, I'm not sure if we can make it. So we're talking to DEQ about that. There will likely be some contract amendments that are necessary for our consultants that are supporting that. Those will come before you. Future council meetings. We know those will come before you. I should say that clearly today. We were able to kind of muddle through for the last month or so beyond what the deadlines were in November, but they're out of approved budget to support this project at this point. There will be changes to the project. We know there's change orders in the works. A lot of those are what I would call run-of-the-mill change orders. You said you need this switch to turn this thing on, and there's no wires that go to it in the project documents. What size should they be, and how? We'll tell you how much those are. There are also some conflicts. We have some conflicts with our membrane supplier, and those are not run-of-the-mill change orders, but we'll work through that, and if you need to hear about it, we'll come and let you know what a recommended path forward is. It's always our goal to resolve those as sort of peacefully and quietly and inexpensively as possible. So hopefully that's where it ends up. With that, happily answer any questions. I will say, to the extent we go down an avenue of really what is our strategy on any sort of escalation, it's probably not the best forum for that. This is a public meeting. It is recorded. So that's probably not where we want to go today. But if you just have project questions or things I could update that you wouldn't mind the contractor listening in on, that's.
John, I remember when this started in 2009. And again, as you said, we're dealing with EPA at that point, were we not?
Yes.
And so, as John mentioned, they came back with requirements that were not scientifically measurable and attainable. And that's what they were trying to hold us to. And one of the big issues is upstream clients, us, Coeur d'Alene, we're being held to a more stringent or strict guideline requirement than downstream, Spokane Valley, Liberty Lake. And I don't know how many years it took us to get to the point, you had the numbers at 4 years, 5 years, to get to the point where it was at least acceptable. And I think that came at a cost of somewhere north of about $500,000 between engineering fees, legal fees, et cetera. And it was something we had to do because they were requiring that we did something, that we do something that was impossible to do. So it was a tremendous process and very frustrating process to go through. I hope it's gotten a little bit better now that it's gone to IDEQ. But I want to commend you and your staff and administration, legal staff, because this has been probably the most drawn out project I've ever seen. Phase 1 went fairly quick. Phase 2, not so much. And I made the joke a few weeks ago that it's been going on for about 14 years. And that's kind of what it feels like, even though it's only been 5. But please do keep us posted on your communications with IDEQ. And because, and we've mentioned this before, there is a chance that if you don't meet those requirements, mayor goes to jail. And just remember that I can appoint someone, as I said before, so. But it is a big issue. It's a huge issue. And keep the communication lines open. I know you are, and keep us posted if you will. But keep fighting the fight, because you guys are doing a great job. And, you know, you're dealt cards that you didn't expect, you know, with the pandemic and supply chain, et cetera. So it's been very frustrating, and thanks for sticking with it and getting us to the point that we can almost see the light at the end of the tunnel, realizing it's not a train. So thank you very much. Any comments or questions, council?
Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you very much. Mayor and council comments. I don't have any tonight other than what I just said on that project. How about council? Any comments? Well, I guess I will go back. I would like to publicly acknowledge the fact that Lynn Borders, former councilman, was named Citizen of the Year at the Chamber Banquet, which was very well deserved on Lynn's part. New councilors didn't have a chance to serve with them, but Lynn has been involved for probably 40 years in service to the community through the fire departments and KMPO, planning and zoning, through his church. He's now volunteering as code enforcement, helping code enforcement officers, so he'll stick around. But you know, congratulations, Lynn. That was a very well-deserved award. I'm glad he was recognized for that. So if we don't have any council comments, we do not need an executive session.
We do not.
So the next motion is,
Adjourn?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.